All right, good people. It's another lovely Thursday here at Big Gold Belt Media. That means we're getting ready to jump into our weekly Big Gold Belt Wrestling podcast. Jamal and I will be handling all the topics tonight. We're talking Edge. We're talking this Texas Chainsaw Massacre death match that AEW had. Kurt Angle's had some things to say on his podcast, and CM Punk is again on the Buzz Room. All that and more. Let's get into tonight's show right now, folks.
Big Gold Belt, Big Gold Belt, Big Gold Belt, Big Gold Belt. All I really want is that Big Gold Belt, Big Gold Belt, Big Gold Belt, Big Gold Belt. All I really need that Big Gold Belt, Big Gold Belt, Big Gold Belt, Big Gold Belt. All I really want is that Big Gold Belt, Big Gold Belt, Big Gold Belt, Big Gold Belt.
Yeah, good people. Welcome back for another episode of the Big Gold Belt Wrestling Podcast. The hosts tonight are myself, Nigeria, alongside of the Giant Cab, Jamal. How's it going, brother? How you feeling?
I'm tired. I just got in from the Nationals game. They just beat Boston maybe about an hour ago, and it's been a long run home.
Well, good to have you tonight. A salute to our absent other host of the show, Will on vacation, Damian working, Marcellus is, who knows, football, working, something. He's always into something, but that's okay. We're going to handle it tonight. And before we get into our wrestling topics, we both saw some movies this week, so I always like to talk movies. So, I want to throw that in there real quick. I checked out Blue Beetle. You checked out this movie called The Moon. Yep. I'll throw it to you first, my guy. Both reviews are available right now at BigGoBelt.com. But giving you some time to verbalize it here. Talk to me about what this movie is, and did you like it? And should people go watch it?
Okay, so here's the 90-second synopsis. In Koreans, for the first time ever, the Korean Space Agency has chartered a manned mission to the moon. The reason why is because they want to solve an energy crisis, and there is good old-fashioned new energy in the form of hydrogen and carbon and whatever on the moon. So let's go get it. Now, what could possibly go wrong? I mean, it's only a quick jaunt to the moon. Well, their first mission blew all to hell. If you remember Challenger, it spectacularly crashed like that. And then their second mission is on the way. Will it suffer the same fate? If it does, what happens to the space agency? Well, as the name implies, they're going to the moon, and unfortunately, accidents arrive, unforeseen things, foreseen things, and one of their astronauts, rather, they're not Russian, they're Korean, but gets stuck on the moon, the real moon. Damn. What do? Not only did you take years to make a mission to the moon work, now you got to get this guy from the moon, or he's going to be the first corpse on the moon in human history. Yeah. So will they do it? Can they do it? Will the government spend the money to go get him? What does he do on the moon? You got to have to watch the movie to find out. But the long and short of it is that it stars one of my favorite guys from one of my favorite K-pop groups, D.O. from EXO. And he's not the first movie that he's been in. He's been in more than a few, but I thought that he was really good as like the young, rookie astronaut who gets stuck on the moon. And there's some other, it's if you've seen Along with the Gods, parts 1 and 2, same director. So you kind of know what you're getting into, the high concept, high fantasy, special effects are on point. It's not a perfect movie. I really wish they stayed out of the politics of the whole, of the whole thing. And, the Americans look really goofy because the only other space program in the world is, NASA. So it's not perfect, but it is fun. And for 2 hours, on a Saturday, yeah, I'd say see it because honestly, if I didn't get a chance to review it, I would be in one of like the 40 theaters around the country that is playing it. So what you should do if you're really interested, you can check your local theater, but more importantly, go to WellGoUSA.com, and they have the listings there, along with all the other feature films that they have out in theaters. It's a pretty good time. I like The Moon. You can read the full review at BigGoldBelt.com, but the short version of it is it's good, not great. Gave it a B-.
Sounds good. I'll be much quicker on mine. I seen Blue Beetle. It's out in theaters, I think now, if not tomorrow.
Yeah, first preview shows tonight.
Yeah. So I had a chance to check this out early. And it's certainly a must watch.
Really?
While there is a really lot of good things that this film does good, I think the representation, being able to see a Latino Mexican family on display in the manner it is authentic. You have perfect casting. You have everybody really contributing in a way that makes their characters feel bigger than life. Everybody, whether you have a suit or not, feels like a level of a superhero. But being able to see that authentic perspective into this family and this dynamic really makes you wonder why it took so long for there to be a Latino superhero on screen like this. So beyond that, it's a funny as hell film. George Lopez, geez. Oh my goodness. But yeah, definitely go see it. If you had any hesitation, it's absolutely a must watch.
Did you see it in IMAX?
I did. Did I? No, I didn't.
Okay. And the reason why I asked is because all the commercials say,
I was like, are we getting IMAX? It's like, no.
Where did you see it?
Tyson's.
Oh, and it wasn't IMAX. That's a damn shame.
Yeah.
The reason why I say it is because all the commercials say filmed in IMAX at the end of the commercial, and I'm like, well, what does that mean? But so that actually, I might wind up checking that out tomorrow.
And I'll say one other thing. The full review is available right now as well too. I think by a lot of the promotion material, I thought everybody, I said fear. I think this is going to be one of those films that's going to color blast you. So you're going to have to be worrying about sensory issues and vertigo and stuff like that. But all that color blasting that they show in the trailers and the promotional work is like 20 minutes max. So
let me ask you this, and this is the review. Is it better than Flash?
Listen, I like the Flash for what the Flash did, but this film just worked on all cylinders. Okay. Like the superhero stuff, the family stuff, supporting characters, everything worked. The only thing I think that was a knock on this was like the villain really wasn't a good villain, but it didn't need to be. Anywho, let's get into it. Let's get into some wrestling stuff. Starting off with Edge, getting ready to celebrate his 25th anniversary with a match that he's never had against Sheamus, who's obviously going to be a Hall of Famer in his own right. But this match is going to happen in Toronto, his hometown. It's going to happen this week on Smackdown. Now, Edge has confirmed that this is his last match of his contract. So then there's other speculatory things happening. Number one, retirement. And number two, AEW. Will him and Christian reunite? Will he be showing up at Wembley? Folks are going wild. The dirt sheets are doing what they do. The other reporters are doing what they do. The fans are getting involved. It has been a dumpster fire on social media with speculation today. But as we are here to talk about it, Jamal, what is your stance on this? If this was Edge's last match, if this was just all said and done, or how do you ultimately see this playing out?
Well, this is the short answer is I would have thought that if it is his retirement match, and we've been talked about recently, especially since there are a lot more of the older guys that are well past their prime, well past their careers, they never really got the actual full send-off that they deserve. And if they did, it doesn't hold up. I don't remember Dean Malenko's last match. I don't remember Lance Storm's last match. I don't remember Jerry Lynn's last match, in the sense that they had the big send-off with the boots in the ring and all that good stuff. If that were the case versus with Edge, why would his last match be versus Sheamus? Now, you say that it's first time ever. Cool. It's in Toronto. Sure. They knew that this date was going to come. But don't you think that a match like this deserves a bigger name than Sheamus. No disrespect to Sheamus, because he's a Hall of Famer in his own right, been with the company forever and a day. But I don't think of Sheamus when I think of Edge. When we saw the Ric Flair retirement show, pay-per-view, dumpster fire, the question wasn't
almost a tragedy,
right? You know, yeah, it was a show.
Listen. I know people are joking, but listen, Kimbo Slice and Dada 2000 or 3000, rest in peace to the two of them. Those are two street fighter legends, and they went in the ring, cardio gave out, and it was a very tragic night that night. So listen, it was not far from the same result with Ric Flair out there. So
right, but that's it's among the same level where you're thinking, who could match with Flair? And we started naming people from earlier than 1990, and realistically, none of them are ready. So it was what it was. With Edge, it's like, well, who could it be? It's his last show, Toronto, Smackdown, big deal, retirement show, and it's Sheamus? That's why I think this isn't the end.
Yeah.
I just think that match isn't how you go out. I think that, yes, Toronto is a big deal. I don't think that he announces that he's signed for another year, or he's working month to month, or he wants to end at WrestleMania. But I think that a Hall of Fame career deserves a lot better than the best six-man you got.
Yeah.
And I think Sheamus has longevity on the side, but I'm not really convinced that Sheamus, that'd be like Edge versus The Miz. Two Hall of Famers. Two future Hall of Famers. But that match doesn't have the weight that you need it to for someone's retirement match.
Yeah.
I don't know who that would be. Would it be Christian? Would it be Jericho? Would it be somebody, I don't know. Would it be Triple H? I don't know. But Sheamus doesn't scream. Sheamus doesn't scream Shawn Michaels versus Ric Flair in WrestleMania.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the lines that I would want to see for a guy like Edge.
Yeah. And
even if it's one night only, I don't know. It's something just feels off about the whole thing and the way it came together. And I don't even watch WWE. So does this match have any other implications? Are they even involved in the storyline? I know that Edge was doing stuff with Judgment Day, but I think that's come and gone.
Yeah, you're right. You're right on the nose here. Also, let me just clear up that I said Dada 3000 and 2000 or whatever. Anyway, it's Dada 5000. So put the math together. But with this, it definitely feels more like a regular weekly booking of like, hey, he's going to be in Toronto. We need to do something for the hometown legend. Right. So who's available? And Sheamus and him is a good match on paper.
Sure.
With something that could be building towards something later. So like the fact that it is his last match of his contract does, to me, it doesn't feel granular as he should deserve. So yes, speculations buzzing around him. It sort of warrants it. What I'm interested is that why nobody sees this as an opportunity for them to just re-up his contract, give him another year deal now that he's got his legs under him. Right, exactly. I mean, because he's very clear in what it seems like his statement of saying this is the last match of my contract. That doesn't mean you're fired. They're damn sure going to offer you something else. When you have that much of a pedigree with the company, you may not be in ring. Maybe you will get in ring. Maybe you do get limited dates. Maybe you do get this farewell tour. So yeah, I think that like speculation could go either way, but like to automatically assume that he shows up at AEW. I mean, first of all, I'm gonna be very honest, and I told somebody to tweet this, so I'm just gonna just say yes, I stole your tweet if you're watching or listening. Yeah, I'm definitely throwing up if I see him at AEW. It just doesn't work for me at this point. It just doesn't. And if it's some level of reconnecting with Christian and doing the thing and whatever. Okay. But honestly, and with that being said, because now I get it that there's a sense of chasing a dollar or whatever it may be. But I do think the question that comes about it, if it does happen, is does this taint Ed's legacy with WWE? Because they're not going to give him that send-off farewell tour that we know that he deserves for sure. He's come back. He's had a good run. He's had some good matches. He had some good moment. The health has been intact. But if you go to AEW, I can't see them being so welcoming to say, please come back so we can do something. And you know, it's a competition now. Business is business, which means that how much longer does Edge have?
Right.
A year, 2? And then you waste that over chasing $1, and then it's just what after that? You can't take the Edge name with you. So
do we really want to see Adam Copeland versus Wardlow?
A lot of matches just don't work or pique my interest. And him being next to Christian doesn't do anything for me. Even if I seen them at Comic-Con together, I'm just like, cool, get your $1, but it doesn't scream like I need to be at that booth at this point.
And part of it is because Christian's not that guy anymore. Like he has moved on. He's going through his supervillain midlife crisis arc, and I love it. I love the work that he's doing in AEW. I want more of it. But that work isn't the peep show in WWE. It's different. And I'm okay with it being different. So, and also, more importantly, we got 7, 8, 10 years of Edge and Christian doing their thing. That's fine. That's great. I don't need to see that anymore. Not because it's old hat, and it is, but largely because both of those guys, we have moved past that point. That was a point. It'll be on the highlight tape when they go to the Hall of Fame. But I don't need that anymore. I think Edge has been doing decent work since in WWE. He had the greatest match ever, literally.
And listen, look, I'm glad you brought that up because they're not shy in building a granular stage for Edge. So if this was a retirement, and if there was this looming idea that he may leave, I think there would be enough respect to make sure that it happened the right way, instead of it just being a match that never happened and let's check off that box. You know what I mean? Rey Mysterio just won a title. So, you can be late in your career and they still can handle you in a way that they want to make sure that you're still presented as a big time deal. But just doing a wrestling match in your city is a big deal for the city, but it ain't granular in the terms of how WWE can do things. So that's just my thought,
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think that's part of it where you just go, for a retirement match, that to me, and again, this is no disrespect to Sheamus, it's just that I don't pair those two together. I don't feel that currently, especially when you talk about a person retiring, passing the torch to a younger person, somebody getting the rub, or the younger guy, whatever. I don't really see that, in Sheamus. He doesn't need it. It is what it is. Yeah. So then maybe is that the way it should be? Maybe should it be like, hey, listen, this is my retirement match, and I want to have it against Wesley. I want to have it against somebody in NXT. I want to make a young guy famous.
Or is this just the last match before his contract? He renewed.
Which is not wrong.
They're both playing babyface right now, and is this the start of a feud? Which Sheamus doesn't have anything going on right now. Drew McIntyre has shifted, so the two of them aren't in their collision course anymore. So there's definitely means for it to work in WWE. Mm-hmm. There's obviously an opportunity for it to work in AEW. Tony Khan would easily call Gangrel, and they'll do something that's very similar to the Brood there, and nobody will be mad at it. But it is what it is. Very mad at that. I already said I would throw up in their mouth. Yep.
Okay.
Are they shy of bringing anybody back? And do you question did you see who? Gangrel was under the mask for Leatherface. That's just my prediction.
Oh God.
Let's just try next topic real quick. So while Tyler Perry couldn't seal the deal, it looks like ESPN still has the door open because the ESPN president of content has not, as you have said, exactly closed the door on inquiring the broadcast rights to WWE. So the question that remains here for tonight's show is ESPN the right fit for WWE? If not, then who? I'll answer this very quick. Whoever has the biggest check, number one, because everything is wonky. You could turn on the Apple TV Plus right now and you can watch soccer. Not something I ever thought I would see on my television screen. And they have their own section for it. And while Apple TV Plus has been branded for their movies and their television shows, this series, they have gotten into the sports game. Now, when you thought about sports and streaming service, you thought about Peacock, you thought about Paramount Plus, and you thought about ESPN Plus. So the fact that everybody's getting into game, and even Prime with Thursday Night Football, and I forget what else they have the rights to now. At this point now, it's just a matter of whoever has the biggest check. But I will say why it works for ESPN, because the brand alignment makes the perfect sense. The fact of what Disney can do with WWE is just monumental thinking about it on paper. And I also think Endeavor really gets excited for the idea that they can add another PLE behind that pay wall. That's right. If you got ESPN Plus, that ain't just going to get your pay-per-view, my friend. You're going to have to spend that pay-per-view dollars in order to get it. And apparently it worked, because they have never shifted from that model. And folks are buying those UFC pay-per-views. And I sure as hell know that Endeavor would love to say, let's try it with WWE. So ESPN makes sense on a lot of different fronts. But I ultimately think if it ain't ESPN, whoever just got the biggest check, then let's just see what it is. We're in a very strange time. And again, I still think it's so weird that what's his name? Because I'm definitely about to let me take a break here before I forget and I mess up. What's his name? Who just got signed to Miami? Namor.
I don't know who that is.
Okay, cool. One of the biggest stars, one of the biggest soccer stars in the world.
Are you naming soccer players? What the hell? Soccer's not a real sport. What am I supposed to do with that?
All right. Well, thank you for taking the heat off of me. But
I said it. Soccer's not a real sport.
His premiere on Apple was like the biggest thing, and it was to me, it was just a shock to see Apple have that type of presentation. So I think that with there really being, with nothing really being off limits, WWE can literally go anywhere, and it's just going to have to be what it is. So. We'll see. But what's your answer to this? Because you were quickly like, nope. So what's your thoughts about this?
So this is why ESPN doesn't work. Number one, they already have a rotating slate around the year of live events. I don't know where WWE fits into that schedule because of the fact. What?
Keep going. No, I'm giving shout outs. What's up, Jazz?
Because of the fact that they have Monday Night Football. Raw will never, ever be more important than Monday Night Football.
Okay.
Wednesday, they have basketball, right?
Okay.
I think Wednesday and Friday, they have basketball. Smackdown would never be more important than the NBA. I think at some point in time, they got to have hockey. So nobody watches soccer. Stop your lies.
This is true. Thank you, 6'8" Jake. This is true.
People's watching darts more than soccer. It's on Apple TV.
Listen, let me just say really quickly.
Ted Lasso has done more for soccer than actual soccer has. Let's put that out there right
now. Go ahead, sir.
So they have hockey, and I want to say they have hockey on. It's not Wednesday. They have hockey at some point.
Not Neymar.
Isn't that the dude in Black Panther?
Namor is in Black Panther.
Yeah, the Submariner. The Submariner plays for Miami.
Neymar.
I don't know who Miami. I mean, your name is Sock. You might as well name golf players. I don't know what the fuck's going on.
Namor is in Black Panther.
Okay. And then you have golf, which they do cover those events, and they have Sunday Night Baseball during baseball season. They play the CFL during the CFL season on Friday nights. I believe Friday and Saturday. ESPN actually has. Well, and to be honest with you, they don't have enough live sports because I'm tired of seeing Sports Center on until, for 4 straight hours. And then they get into the debate shows for another 6 straight hours until they show their one game a day that they do live.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure where WWE fits in weekly where they don't get pushed around. Honestly, I think WWE on ESPN would be worse than AEW on TNT because we know what that looks like for. You really mean it? You really mean to tell me that people are going to be watching Raw on ESPN News? Stop it.
Listen, I'll say this though. ESPN2 absolutely has more of a notoriety in terms of sports.
Oh yeah, ESPN2 is better than Fox Sports 1. I'll give you that.
Yeah, and TNT and TBS in football.
Yeah. Well, for
sports
sure.
majority. Yeah.
For sports, sure. Absolutely. A lot of people have ESPN. What I am saying is that I don't
get ESPN
see
News free on some on some joints, I think, right?
No. Well, I don't know. I don't know. I haven't paid for ESPN in 20 years. But the idea is I don't think they have too much live sports that revolves around live sports to have them on a static channel, which is to be fair to Apple TV and soccer ball games. I think that Hulu might make more sense.
If Hulu's around, they're talking about getting rid of Hulu.
Right, but guess who owns Hulu?
Disney. But right. they're talking about getting Hulu
Disney
in the capacity
here in Disney Plus.
Yeah, exactly. Which is already a thing overseas.
Right. So Disney loses like several $1 billion a year, and they lost $10 billion, trying to do Disney Plus, and it ain't work. They're not making money on it. Disney Plus is going to be $50 a year in a couple years because Disney's to turn a profit.
You're not lying.
I mean, I'm dead serious. That's
things are creeping up like very crazy nowadays.
Right. So we're also saying that that the point is that I think Hulu could be an example because of their free flowing content. Then nothing's dedicated to Hulu. There is no schedule. You watch whatever you want, and they do have live TV. So why wouldn't Hulu just have a WWE channel and actually make the WWE network on Hulu? Now the problem is that so many people have cable still. Will they make the jump behind another paywall to pay for that? And I don't see it.
I mean, that's my thing, though. Let me get some of the comments read real quick. I want to go back to a couple of them.
Sure.
Just to make sure we didn't cover them. But he said, and 6'8" Jake made these previous comments saying they can also broadcast WWE on ESPN2, ESPN News, followed up by they have the bandwidth to broadcast multiple AAA productions concurrently. ESPN News is just an example. The main point is that they can broadcast multiple productions concurrently, Disney and Fox. True. And CBS. I mean, not CBS. Who else is there? ABC. Sorry. Also ABC. So they have channels. My thing with this is that, again, until the UFC behind the paywall is something that is, fizzles out. I think there's means for business from a business standpoint. I'm sure the fans won't like it, but I think there's means for it to work. But you're absolutely right about the Monday night thing. Like Monday Night Raw is a thing.
It's
ESPN having that Monday Night Football contract to 2033, I think, something like that.
And until infinity. I mean, ESPN is
beyond
$2 billion to get the Monday Night Football.
Yeah. But while Monday Night Football is a thing for a couple of months a year, Raw is a thing all over the year. I mean, people still turn to USA and watch it regardless. So, like, whether it's USA, whether it's what was that old station that they were on before?
Spike TV.
Spike TV, yes. I had the logo on my head. I was like, it's yellow and black. Spike TV.
TNN.
Yeah, TNN. Whether it's ESPN2, whether they rebrand that channel into something that doesn't sound like a secondary channel, they can make it work. And then the Hulu thing, I get what you're saying, but like they're already going to be working on trying to integrate Hulu content into Disney Plus, and then Disney Plus interface will have to change, and that's not a very seamless thing, as we know by Max, who still hasn't integrated all of the Discovery Plus stuff. So that's a work in progress as it is.
Disney Plus with live TV is a hard, is a good look.
$50.
Easy.
Easy.
But Comcast already has Xfinity Now, which is $20 a month. What I'm saying is that ESPN is far and away in the best position to handle it. They already are the preeminent name in sports in North America. Mm-hmm. They have a worldwide reach with ESPN all over the world in their branded networks all over the world. And more importantly than that is that they do have the capacity to handle all of the studio stuff that you want, all of the backstage stuff. ESPN can produce that themselves. WWE can produce that themselves. It's a distribution deal. And then, of course, there is the synergy between the networks. Now here's the thing. And I see a question. It's a good question. I'll get to that in a second. Everybody's fighting for the key demographic, and that is male, 18 to 49. Now, how much do the audiences of WWE and NFL overlap? Look at the ratings on a Monday. 18 to 49. Who's watching what? They're watching Monday Night Football, depending on the matchup, unless the matchup is absolutely garbage on paper. They're watching Monday Night Football, and then they're watching Raw. So I'm not going to say I can't not make the claim because I really don't know that the audiences overlap. But what I do know is, generally speaking, on a Monday during football season, number 1, 2, or 3 are either football, the pregame show, and Raw. So
and let's just call it what it is. Historically, Raw has never tried to compete with the NFL. So you see the show is loaded very the heavy hitters in the show is loaded late within the programming because they know once you cut it off, then it goes over to it. Except for those double headers that just make no sense. But
that's
also
early in the year, right?
Yeah, ridiculous. I don't want to watch a West Coast game at 11 o'clock at night Eastern time. Just kill me. I for real. But I think that like as a fan of both, you watch NFL because you're like, oh, I'm not going to get this matchup again. It's very hard to find rewatches of football games. So you watch that and you can find Raw at some level of replay clips, or you just catch the last
fact that they can cover Raw on SportsCenter is a big deal.
That's a huge deal. Fox can't do that. Huge deal.
And then, of course, there's the Disney integration, which means that we're going to see actual stars on Dancing with the Stars. We're going to see, the overlap in between the other sports. If they want that synergy to work, and that's something you're in bed with one of the biggest multimedia businesses in North America, why aren't you everywhere?
Tell you what,
and I think the WWE has a position to do that. I still don't think that for its core programming, ESPN is the right fit. Now, if not them, which they are obviously the best equipped for all the reasons that we named, then who? I think it would have to be. They would have to do what the soccer league did with Apple TV and carve their own niche out of an established program. That's why I think Hulu makes sense. I think Prime Video makes sense. I think Netflix makes sense. Right. I think Netflix makes sense. And I think that if
Netflix and WWE have already been in bed a few times, so it's sort of a working relationship. But this programming,
right?
How distribution? How does that look? Netflix will also have to, and they've been making changes internally too. So
yeah, and because everybody's losing money, like as much as these prices are not going up because because they're losing money, and that's what it is. It cost ESPN $2 billion to show one game a week.
Yeah.
I mean, let's understand what that means. Like, I think that the contract is for like 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
But that's only 40 games?
Yeah. Tell you what, because we do got a lot to talk about, and per usual, we hit our commercial, but remix tonight. Let's get right into the indie spotlight. I know you got that loaded up. So let's do what we do, throwing it back to you and highlight an independent promotion that you need to check out their show. So Jamal, who do you got for this week's Indie Spotlight?
So the first thing I want to touch on is Pro Wrestling Eve. They're doing a show the 26th, and that is in London. That is the weekend of All In. Pro Wrestling Eve on Twitter if you want more information there. Tickets are damn near sold out. I couldn't imagine you get them, but streaming information is on the website, or you can check them out on the Twitter, Pro Wrestling Eve. Then the thing that I want to talk about is December 14th. Yes, it's in December, but it's a show that you need to be at, and tickets go on sale this weekend.
Now, and there you go. When you spotlight these shows long in advance, it's always a lot of things that change before it gets to it.
It is Prestige Wrestling, which is based out on the West Coast, and it is Tokyo Joshi Pro Wrestling, which is based in Japan. They are coming together for a joint show. Damn the Forbidden Door. They are coming together for a joint show in Los Angeles at the Globe Theater, December 14th. PrestigeWrestling.net has your ticket information. That's something that you're going to want to get in on first. A lot of people from TJPW are coming over. Miyu Yamashita is their champion. Taya Valkyrie is going to be there. Masha Slamovich, Killer Kelly, Maki Ito, Mizuki, Rika Tatsumi, and more. Tickets go on sale this Friday at 10 a.m. Pacific time. That is 7 a.m. in Hawaii. That is 2 p.m. Here. No, 1 p.m. 1 p.m. In the East Coast and everywhere else in between. Get your tickets. PrestigeWrestling.net. The show is in December, but tickets go on sale tomorrow at 10 a.m. Pacific. That's 1 p.m. in the East. You're going to want to be at this show, Combat Princess USA, the joint show, Prestige Wrestling, Tokyo Joshi Pro in December for your indie spotlight this week.
All right. I was about to say, you're going to say the title of the show, but all right, I got faith that this one's going to happen. What was that show we were building up before that was supposed to be that really big show and it just never happened?
Oh, the other one, the one where they,
the
Authors of Pain put it on. That was in Birmingham, England, I want to say. And they were trying to sell out like a 10,000 seat arena. And I think they got like 200 tickets sold or something like that. But
yeah.
But then they booked like half of the indies from the US and then forgot that like that cost plane ticket money. So
yeah, I'd never wish on no one's failure, but man, did I see the crash and burn occurring with that one from the beginning. Anywho, as you mentioned, you're great with AEW, and it's going to probably sound like I'm hating, but I've been really like pissed off about this for a long time. So I love when topics like this hit the sheets for today. And we're talking about AEW, who had their Texas Chainsaw Massacre death match on Dynamite this previous Wednesday, where we got a new Leatherface champion, Chef Jarrett. Okay, cool. But listen, there's a lot that's kind of buzzing around this, and I have questions. I didn't do too much research, so I'm ready to be put in my place if I'm wrong. But as it states for our topic sheet, do you find it odd that AEW chose this sponsorship and Shark Week and not align with some of the other bigger Warner Brother projects this year? First of all, if you didn't get on that Barbie wave, there's an issue, because everybody got that Barbie money. Everybody got that Barbie sponsorship. Barbie is the biggest movie of the year. I predicted it. It is come to fruition. Nothing's going to top it in the box office. It worked its ass off when it came down to promoting ads, all that good stuff. You saw Barbie everywhere. They hit on all cylinders. So AEW, under the Warner Brothers Discovery umbrella, Barbie by Warner Brothers. Cool. I had a problem that they didn't have a presence there. I was like,
let me just say it for set the record straight. The Super Mario Brothers movie is the biggest movie in North America this year so far, but Barbie is only 33 million behind that and will probably overtake that sooner than later. Yeah. And Super Mario like already did his digital release and everything, but also Super Mario also did get leaked, so that also probably hurt a little bit too. Super Mario was a big movie. Thanks for correcting me on that, but I'm here to be held accountable. But then, okay, cool. No Barbie. And Barbie made $500 million though, just in the US alone. So let's
yeah. and fine, Jake, 6'8" Jake. If you didn't like Barbie, then good. But like, also, I feel like as a guy, he's like, why does a guy want to see Barbie? The cast alone. The cast alone should have been worth saying, okay. And if they would have promoted John Cena harder, all y'all wrestling marks would have been running to the theaters. Y'all would have called it the John Cena movie. But nonetheless, I digress. Fine, forget Barbie. What just came out this week? As we mentioned in the beginning of the show.
The Moon. Good movie. Go see it. Shout out to Well Go Media.
Blue Beetle.
So
and listen, as a film critic here, we understand that the strike is happening. So Blue Beetle, which is a potentially huge movie, is going to predict.
It's unfortunate because I really do believe that the strike greatly impacted its marketability.
1,000%. 1,000%. I really wanted to say it in my review, but I just came off of that when you have somebody like a George Lucas, who entire career has almost been in front of the camera on television, doing these quick skits or just a larger than life personality. If you have somebody like George Lopez to promote a movie that not only is a good movie, but because of the significance behind the movie and the representation that he gets to put on, he can sell the movie alone. George Lopez in junkets, red carpet interviews, all sorts of different things. Come on now. And then across the cast. And they don't get any of that because of the strike. And rightfully so, that they should strike so that they can get paid. Yep. So the fact that the Warner Brothers Discovery had to rely on other things, pop-ups, commercials, pre-recorded things, you know, and it still is tracking to do good. And this is a DCU movie. The first sucks. So exactly. The first under the James Gunn era, the 14th film under the DCEU. It by all means should be really it's easily the must-watch movie of the week, but it could be doing so much monumentally better with the added promotional work. And I firmly believe that because look at Barbie. So you don't get Blue Beetle, you don't do Barbie, you get Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which, by the way, folks, is not a new movie because the new movie of Texas Chainsaw Massacre came out on Netflix last year. So it's not that. It's a video game. And the beta happened. The game got released. I cannot believe GameSpot gave it a 9. Somebody paid somebody because that just doesn't make no sense. It's not a good game. As a person who loves these type of games, it's not a good game. I'm not even hating straight up. It wants to be dead. You kind of hating a little bit. It wants to be dead. It wants to be Friday the 13th. It's a little bit of hate in your heart right now. It wants to be Friday the 13th. It wants to be Dead by Daylight. It's not. It's just not. No. Point blank. But nonetheless, they got it. They worked out a deal. This independent, well, not really independent, but this gaming company works out something with AEW. So it has nothing to do with Warner Brothers Discovery, who clearly has no interest in AEW as it seems. But hey, and then I hear there's a lengthy price tag attached. Please make this make sense. Where did this 100K sponsorship come from, and who did it?
Well, probably the publisher did it in the marketing. But if $100,000 does make sense because, you know, somebody had to make the belt, somebody had to make the physical things that came with it, and then of course, Khan needs his cut. I think for $100,000, it seems like they got off pretty cheap. That sounds like, you know, if that's the case, then Mr. Beast should probably, you know, do a thing and get his face on the ring. Because that's pocket change to a multi-billion-dollar company that's trying to promote a thing, or a game with a $50 million budget. $100,000? That's $100,000 on primetime on Wednesday night on the number 1 or 2 show on cable. I think that level of marketing is pretty low. Because for the position that we're talking about, in the dead of summer, where there's really not much else going on as far as competition and sports goes, because baseball is everywhere, and the Wednesday night game on ESPN doesn't really resonate. For this time slot, 8 p.m. in a marquee match that bears your name, I think 100,000 is on the wicked low end, which makes me wonder what DraftKings played.
I mean,
because DraftKings, they were out the red carpet.
The niches don't make sense. Nothing about the horror community screams AEW. Nothing about the video game community screams AEW, unless it's fighting and anything related to Kenny Omega. So, like, when you take this type of, like, what is it, 4v1 survival game, and you say
it's a no DQ match, basically. That's all it is.
I get that. I get the match that they built around it, but I'm understanding what is the interest of the video game in terms of wanting to promote on AEW. How does that make sense to me? And that's what I just don't get. And so, like, when you hear that there's 100K, it's like, but how do they promote Beetle?
How do they promote Blue Beetle any differently? I mean, do they have like 1,000 Beetle swimming pool match? I mean, like, what do we?
Well, one, they're under the umbrella, so whether it makes sense or not, it makes sense for brand alignment. And number 2, everyone benefits for the idea that the hottest movie of the week is being promoted on your show, and to see product play. I mean, it's the same as the any type of commercials being run through the Super Bowl or anything being ran through Monday Night Football, because you know there's attention watching it. It makes sense to throw your commercial of. And matter of fact, another reason why it works is because theater works, whether it's performance theater or theatrical arts. Like it all works. It comes from the same thing, the larger than life character. So it just works. I just don't see how, like, these two formulas, and I get it. I get you, Jake. You got to try different formulas, and if this is an attempt, okay, fine. I'll hush
I
up.
don't mind the branding. I wish they did more of it because you got to try. I just think that if you had a choice between Blue Beetle and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre game, you have a movie that's PG-13. That's going to have a wide release, 4,000 screens around the country, massive release, even in spite of the writer's strike and all that stuff. It's the only thing opening this weekend. Gran Turismo comes out next weekend.
Yep.
And you choose the game, which is rated M for mature, which cuts a portion of its audience. Yes, I know that doesn't mean anything, but it should. And then it's a game that's on, not every system that everybody's going to play. If I don't think it's on Switch, so that cuts out another section of the audience. And it's a horror game, so that cuts out another section of the audience. Now we get into, well, who is this actually for? And maybe the AEW audience skews more adult. Maybe that 18 to 49 is actually 25 to 49. And maybe that's the sweet spot for them. Maybe that's who they're trying to reach. Actual college kids or post-college kids with disposable income. Realistically, though, the kids make more money because kids have to be accompanied by parents. Kids can't go by themselves. Kids can't go to see Blue Beetle by themselves. So a family of 4 is always going to win out.
Wait, they can't see Blue Beetle?
Well, I mean, it's PG-13, right? So your 6-year-old is going to walk into the movie theater by himself and be like, "Yo, give me 2 tickets."
But that whole teenage
that's not my concern. I'm just saying that a family movie is going to bring families, which means more people, more money.
Yeah.
Versus a horror game that only a subsection will be interested in, that a lesser subsection can actually play.
I tell you what, though, I tell you something else too. Another missed opportunity was Twisted Metal. Although I think the series sucked, make it make sense. Why didn't Twisted Metal have any involvement with AEW with Samoa Joe? And they also was
but
caught
even why doesn't Orange Cassidy have a deal with Tropicana? I mean like that was his branded choice on the indies. But I don't care. Give him a jar of Minute Maid. Actually, I think they're all Coke products. But the point is that should be a thing. It seems like a no-brainer.
Yeah, Danhausen has a comment officially licensed by DC.
Sure.
So
sure.
Some people get it, I guess.
We've been talking about this though. We've been talking about this and how individual people or whatever, it has to be bigger than Kenny working with Street Fighter because he's a fan. It has to be bigger than the T-shirt that came out after that. It has to be bigger than a lot of the things that they're in. We got Jade Cargill cosplaying as Mortal Kombat characters on a Warner Brothers show. Why is that a thing that we're not, that's like they're leaving money on the table?
And Ed Boon has 1,000% take notice to it. So
right. Because you have somebody walking out looking like his people on TV in the company that he works with that distributes that thing.
Yeah.
Go across the hall and say, how do we make this happen?
Yeah, and another person that's also will probably be willing to play a game is Seth. I'm about to say Seth MacFarlane. Seth MacFarlane? What's his name? Spawn.
Todd
yeah,
McFarlane.
Spawn. Todd McFarlane. Thank you. Another person that's willing to
Family Guys is Spawn?
Yeah, no, not that. Todd. Yeah. Is a person that's willing to play a game in terms of cross promotion and branding, who's also under the Warner Brothers umbrella. He's doing all those storylines and so on. So I don't know. To me, and again, because we got some other topics to cover, I really think that Twisted Metal and AEW would have worked. I think the comedy would have absolutely worked. I think that like Samoa Joe obviously being there, Samoa Joe coming out is sweet too, would have been fantastic. Yeah, I don't know what's up with that, but I just think that like
I could definitely. They had a parking lot match. But
recently. The car in the back. All of Twisted Metal.
Why isn't that the Twisted Metal match?
Yes, at Comic-Con, in LA, they've had the ice cream truck set up for photo ops, and they just did like mini activations. You don't think they could have easily done something like that? So I don't know what it is, why Warner Brothers Discovery won't do the business, or why AEW won't do the business that should be a given. That's my thoughts.
Let me ask you this: is AEW asking and everyone saying no? Is your marketing department reaching out and going like, "Hey, We got a parking lot brawl. That's a Twisted Metal match. Hey, Barbie's coming up. Let's get half our women's division in pink. Well, fucking Ian Riccaboni was dressed as a cowboy because they were in Calgary.
Pink ropes would have did it. I've been all for it.
Well, that's a little bit too much like Connor's Cure. We don't need that. But no. But the point is that there's so many little things. Maybe what if they are reaching out to Warner Brothers and going, hey, how do we get a taste? How do we make that work? What about the synergy? What are we doing on our end? What do we need to do? And they're like, oh, all you need to do is turn the cameras on Wednesdays and get the fuck out of my face. Because it really feels like that.
Oh, let me say this really quick too about ESPN. ESPN is making a lot of changes with their brand. So
they fired half their talent.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So it'll be interesting to see what other drastic changes they make in terms of program and whatnot.
Hey, Shannon Sharp, so
Yeah, I'm with it. First take gonna be lit. Let's get to the last two things. We got like 10 minutes left, so let's make this very quick. I'll throw it to you. I'll keep my mouth shut. Kurt Angle said on his podcast recently that he wouldn't be surprised if Finn Balor moved on from WWE if they don't do something big with him. So does Finn Balor leave WWE at any given time? Everybody has a podcast, by the way. What's your thoughts about this?
I like that everybody has a podcast, but as far as Finn Balor goes, I think that they have. Well, that's the question. What is Warner Brothers good at of this squander opportunity? That's why they're $3 billion in the hole right now. I mean, that it is what it is. Warner Brothers, likes leaving money on the table. We know
that's comment of the night right there.
Right. But as far as Finn Balor goes, I think that he hasn't had the run that we expected him to have. A lot of the bluster when he came in from being former Bullet Club leader and all this stuff in Japan, for reasons, didn't really pan out to me. So as far as whether or not he, decides to move on, he's obviously well within his right to do so. I don't know when his contract expires. Maybe it's soon, maybe it's not. But the long and short of it is that I think while the getting's good, while he still has time, because the only thing he's doing is getting older, maybe it is to his benefit to go on a Cody Rhodes style lap around the Indies, semi-retirement. It's not goodbye, it's see you down the road tour, 2025. I wouldn't be mad at that.
I said I wasn't going to say anything, but I changed my mind. Finn Balor has had a fantastic recent run with the Judgment Day because
I think Judgment Day has had a good run. I think Finn Balor has been a part of that. Yeah, but it's not that they need him.
Yeah, yes and no, because I still think he has that veteran toolage to keep everybody aligned and narrowed in. I think that's important because there is opportunity, especially when you have a stable. Like somebody can fall off the wagon and jeopardize everything. And let's not get it twisted. A staple of 4 doesn't always work where everybody is relevant. And Finn Balor has been having great matches. And maybe Finn Balor, just maybe, Finn Balor's off his Bryan Danielson, where he just want to have good matches. He's had a career like it. So
I don't think Balor has anything to prove.
Not at all.
If he were to take the time right now, I don't know how old he is either, but if he were to take the time right now, while he has the time to explore and with somewhat remaining health, no time 42. Like the so.
42.
Oh, he's 42.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then, he needs to get on the horse. Then, if he chooses to do that, he can very well retire in WWE and go and.
Bryan Danielson is 42.
Oh, Bryan is 42. I thought you said
no. They're both. They both are. They're both 42. So, I mean, you said it. Nothing to prove. Pretty much accomplished everything that he wants to. And I think right now, maybe he is content. Maybe he's content with the security.
Sure.
So,
I mean, like his motivations are his own, and he definitely doesn't need to prove anything to anybody. I think he's had a good run in WWE, and he's had a Hall of Fame worthy career outside of. Any one company, put them all together, and he's had a solid career. But it's just that if people want to see him, if he wants to take the ball and paint with his own paintbrush and watercolor, this would be the time to do that. Because I don't know how much longer he has, he wants to go.
Yeah. And I also think he's wanted for a good rest. And we didn't see him for a couple of months and came back. And I'll tell you another thing. The demon gimmick, very fun. A lot of fun. Mm-hmm. But also problematic if it goes too long. Just look at Bray Wyatt. So, with that being said, let's get to our last topic here. CM Punk, and I do make that comment about Bray Wyatt, the character, nothing with his mental health, nothing with his personal health, all that stuff just circling around. I'm just saying that the Fiend was going to run him into a brick wall, which it did, and people stopped caring. The Demon was the exact same thing, that he was overpowered, and at some point, it was just not going to work. It wasn't going to make sense for booking. So there's that. Anyway, CM Punk is back in the news again. As the notes say, for the wrong reasons. That is relative. If you are Tony Khan, it's enough of Punk. I literally don't have anything to say about this. I don't want to talk about Punk no more. What's your thoughts here?
Well, that's kind of why I phrased it that way, because after a certain point, it gets tiring. When is enough of this thing? And as far as making the news for the wrong reasons, the bottom line is nobody's talking about Collision being a good show. They're talking about, Punk being a prima donna. They're talking about Punk saving the show. They're talking about Punk running it from, micromanage it from behind the scenes. Those things aren't good because they're taken away from the roster, the show, the product. That's a problem. He's, I'm not going to say that he's overshadowing the product, Collision, but the long and short of it is that I haven't heard anybody give me a reason to watch it on Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, I mean, bad time slot, so you either watch it or you don't. I just say this, all this Punk stuff, people are so invested into what's happening backstage.
Well,
that is just, and
well, yeah, that's the unfortunate part of the internet is that I remember, because I'm old, when you had it was $9.50 a minute, and you had a 7-minute long taped message of what the dirt sheets would allow you to have.
Yeah. And
after spending too much money on listening to Gene Oakland tell me the scoops, you went on about your day. Now it's 24/7. It's omnipresent. Everybody has a dirt sheet. Everybody thinks they know. They have an insider. They can't name names. It is what it is. The long and short of it is that if I'm not saying that Punk is a distraction or detraction from a Collision. It's not him going to the reporters and saying, "Hey, look at me now." But to be fair, it is taken away from the product. People aren't talking about the show.
I mean, but let's just call it what it is. Shit? Punk is doing stuff, and people are eating it all up. On the same token, you have people like Ryback out there that's always saying stuff, and people just ignore him. So the fact that Punk does anything and people want to say something about it obviously makes him a draw and of interest forever. The other thing is, what's really annoying is you do have folks that are sources and that provide the scoops, and you think about people like Nick, who Nick has really been telling more about the story, which at one point I thought Nick had really exhausted everything. He's told me a lot of things in confidence, and I'm just I'm really not big into reporting things, or he tells me things and it's just between us, but he's definitely exposed more about what happened that night and beyond that. And Sean Ross Sapp does his work and reports it, and he has his sources. And then it's interesting how people take these stories, remix them, then builds a belief off of these remixes, and then they run with this narrative. So you got so many of these random stories out floating that people are picking sides to things that aren't even the legitimate perspectives of it, which makes it all annoying. And then, as I mentioned, the fact that people are so invested into the backstage stuff and into people's personal life, whether the Bucks and Punk aren't on the same terms, and somebody tried to apologize and they didn't want to apologize then, now they want to apologize now, and then Punk says some stuff about Adam Page, and people are running with that.
It's the bullshit. When is enough if you're Khan and you put your foot down and you move past this?
I mean, but again, I just think that there's a lot of personalities in that locker room, and some people are about that life, some people aren't. Some people are going to talk, they talk, some people not. The fact that it was done after the show is no different than anything else that happens after the show, whether it's giving somebody praise and and let's let it be very clear. There is a lot of shade that gets thrown on after the show goes off. People will say something to lift somebody else up and take a shot at somebody else, very, very low key, but it's still shade one way or another. The fact that Punk said what he said about Paige, it is what it is. Like it's like, all right, if he wants to talk it, then it is what it is. Everybody's on it. Matter of fact, there's a lot of keyboard gangsters out there. He just happened to say it out on the mic. So
right. So if you're Khan, when do you tell people shut it up?
Man, do your programming. And long, well, I feel you. Is he ever going to get grasp of his roster to dead all of this? At some point,
if not him, then who?
Yeah, you can't have two separate meetings. He's going to have to do some peer mediation. He's going to have everybody in the room.
And I'm not even saying like, hey, fire anybody that talks to the dirt sheets or whatever. I mean, we know what that is. Yeah. But I'm just saying that if you have, this isn't the first time something like that has happened.
Yeah.
The people forget that, or maybe they choose to not remember that when the All Out thing happened, Khan was at the table sitting next to Punk. So I think this is more reflective of Khan than it is of Punk, because if you have the ability to do something, you're going to do it.
Yeah.
When does Khan get in and say, nah, I don't care if y'all don't like each other, dead to shit. We don't, and if you do something, we don't do it on the mic. They ain't for us. We take it backstage or whatever. When is he going to step in? When is enough?
Yeah.
I don't care that Punk said anything. I care more that Khan allows it to happen and continuously allows it to happen.
Yeah.
Because it takes away from the show.
And it's not a Punk thing. It's a culture across the board. That's it. All right, let's end the show. Y'all care about Aubrey Edwards? I really wanted to talk about it, but
I did not put that in the notes. That is on you, sir. That is on you.
Let's wrap it up, folks. That will do it for tonight's episode. Tonight's edition of the Big O Belt Wrestling Podcast. We're live each and every Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, across all of our social media platforms that allow video, and you can keep up with news, content, reviews, all that good stuff at bigobelt.com. Folks, come check us out live. Get in the comments. Be a part of the conversation. We absolutely will engage with you all. And if you are listening back to the audio podcast here, hit us up on all social media at bigobelt.com. For Jamal, for myself, that'll do it. We'll see you all back next week.
All I really need